Well, I mean, on the outside, I would just like to not have anything show if there is no good IP information to base a time zone calculation off of.
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, if there's no good IP information, then
Yeah.
we should show no time zone.
Oh, okay. And we should just show a message like there was a problem with your
No,
IP.
nothing.
Nothing at all. Okay.
Nothing at all. Yeah, that's what I think.
Mm,
Hey guys.
I
Hey, Pete.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Cool. Are you using the user's client settings to determine the time zone?
We're gonna do last sign in IP.
Mm-hmm.
I'm repasting Raphael's SSH link if you want to get in on that.
coordinates.
See, this is a thing where I don't necessarily want to put those Ruby objects in the top level models directory.
Why?
Because I think models just, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. But what I sort of thought we would do is, because these Ruby objects really are probably only going to be used in one place, at least for the foreseeable future, I would drop them in a directory named after the service that they serve.
Yeah, the thing is that we don't have that structure, and we haven't decided, and also we don't know if we are going to use it in another place. But probably you are right. Maybe we should just put it inside a directory. We can decide that now and just move it there. Like you were talking about, like something like services time zone, and then all the body objects here, right?
Yep. Or whatever the name of the service is. If that service is called time zone retriever service, I would name the directory the exact same thing.
Yeah, in that case, I don't want to be redundant with names, so I was thinking something like time zone model, and we will have then a service directory, then time zone, then retriever service,
Okay.
and then inside it we can have all the other value objects that it will be using.
All right.
So let me do that first. In fact, that was my first suggestion for doing services. Like the name of the module, the top level module will be the name of the use case, and then inside it we will have a structure for what the service will be using. But then I think that Brian said something about it, something about the default structure for a normal REST application.
I think he might want you to say time zone service on the outer module rather than just time zone.
Yeah, the thing is that this is not the actual service, so I don't feel the need, because this is just for the structure for purpose. I don't feel the need for having service in here and then service in here also. This is the
right.
actual
The time
service.
zone module is abstract. The concrete thing is a service. And okay. All right. Well, let's just do this and see. Maybe he'll feel different about it once he sees this pull request.
Okay, let me fix this then.
Hmm. I wouldn't think you have to do that, but let's see.
Yeah, it seems like a required problem. Let me check the error first. Oh, I see the problem. I guess we need another that. Okay. So now we need to move the other files, I think. Hmm. This is interesting. So there is a time zone class
Already?
here, yeah. So I am thinking that we probably can use this function as a top level function for the module because there is a time zone object, a time zone value object that we have
That we
here.
created.
Yeah. So
Yep.
what did you think about this?
What do you mean top level?
Just putting the functions here in the actual module, something like that.
Are you gonna extend self, or how do you intend to expose those methods?
Yeah, probably like that, extend itself.
Okay. All right, sure.
But let's see, let's discuss this. I don't know if that's a good idea at this point. Maybe that the name of the value object is not the correct one. Um,
Could you do a vertical split and pull them up side by side?
sure.
This is basically our presenter.
This one?
Yeah, if I were to classify it. It's yeah, it sets up the two things that we're looking to expose about a given user's time zone, which is the name and the offset.
Hmm.
Um, let's see how it's used. We use it in a method called timezone, where we feed it data.
Yeah, maybe we can just call offset here and pass out the entire thing here, like so. But in that case, we can just add that offset method here.
Um, we could. We need the
And just remove the entire this value object entirely.
I mean, I'm not opposed to it, but I do sort of like the value object idea. I feel like it
Yeah,
was a useful concretion.
yeah, sure. But well, the thing is this name actually.
I know. It's just a naming issue.
Mm-hmm.
So, what if we were to rename that class of time zone data. I know that feels weak, but this is basically the result of all the calculations. You know, everything we care about is here. We have a total of three value objects, but when they're all calculated, what is produced is this value object that exposes two values, the name and the offset.
Yeah, let's go with that. The name of the file should change.
We might want to rename the method on line 12. Line 13, the name of the reference has to be updated to time zone data, but also I'm thinking that the name of the method that it's in, def time zone, might want to call that something more like retrieve data. I don't know.
I made a mistake.
Hey guys, I hate to throw cold water on what you're doing, but I just found the JavaScript method called getTimeZoneOffset. Would it make sense just to put the UTC time into the view and then let JavaScript do the calculation in the client browser?
That's interesting. Not opposed to doing that either. The only thing is, it just so happens that the data returned to this backend object by the service that we're calling, this Google service, comes in with an offset number already. So it was something that I assumed we would just pre-calculate. But could you link me the
Yeah.
JavaScript method?
Yeah, I forgot that we were already doing geolocation that signed in.
What sort of... I'm looking at this now. Okay. Like, does this... Time zone offset. So it looks at the locale of your browser, and wow. So does this actually just do everything that we need to do? Like, how intelligent is this? It looks at your browser and it calculates your time zone just based off your IP? Or am I overestimating how much it does?
I think it looks at your browser and returns your time zone based on your clock settings.
On your clock settings?
That's interesting. It even seems simpler.
Yeah, it does the code we've generated so far. It seems pretty simple, but we are calling some services, and you know, that's always an external dependency.
Perhaps.
But I just don't get how this thing could be so intelligent.
Perhaps as a fallback, if you can't get an IP address, then let the JavaScript do it.
Like, how does this JavaScript in pure isolation? I've got my clock reading 1433 right now. Does that know that I'm at UTC +1 according to my system clock, or like it must? I feel like it has to still call a backend somewhere to, you know, make a calculation. Okay, this person's system time says this, and if I call a backend service, I know that UTC is that, so this person is +1 or something like that, right?
I'm not sure. It might just give you the time zone offset that was set on that date object, and has nothing to do with the local machine settings.
Oh.
Let me try it here.
Yeah, I guess we could just try it in the browser. So I could do date. I'm actually pretty sucky at JavaScript. What is this? Date.new, or how do I initialize a new date object?
New date with a capital D, open close parentheses.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. So when I do that, yeah, it tells me GMT +1. Raphael, what does it tell you? If you just go into a random browser console and type new date dot get time zone offset. Well, actually, you don't even need to do that part. Well, yeah, do that part too.
Then try it. New date, and then what?
Just do new date first of all, and then do new date dot get time zone offset.
Oh, fuck. Just a second. Time zone offset. Get time zone offset.
Yep.
240. That's what I. That.
Right, now divide that by 60.
Okay.
And you're like +4.
4.
Yeah, 4, +4.
Yeah, I get -120,
Right.
which
Okay.
is 2 hours.
Well, I think this is pretty convincing.
So.
This way we don't need to worry about IP addresses not existing on a user object or anything like that.
Yeah, I agree. What should we do then? Just remove all the services and stuff and this, right?
I think we should just start over. We should leave our pull request open, because I have it there, it's a work in progress. But we should just go.
There's also an HTML5 microformat for time, which you could use to pass in the event time into the view.
HTML5, what should I Google it to see this? HTML5 time format?
I've just pasted another link.
Okay.
Sure. Just let's start over as you said.
But you could just use a data attribute, just the same.
A data attribute to
whatever the container that you're displaying the readable date time in.
Right, this basically gives us, I mean, one nice thing about the Google time zone service is it gave us the name of the time zone, like European Central Summer, but that doesn't really matter. I think the most important thing is the UTC offset, which we can get just to the client. So, and in that case, we're just going to get that with a date.new.getTimeZoneOffset divided by 60.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just going to be left with an integer. We're going to pass that to, interpolate that into a string that says UTC something integer, you know?
Yeah, so UTC +2.
Right.
But then you've got to add that to the time that you're displaying.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're thinking about more broadly how we'll use this across the site. Actually, the only application that I was thinking about right now was on the users index page. There's right now 2 pieces of information for every user, their name and their country.
Oh, the right. I
And
was.
we were gonna put
Yeah,
that in there.
sure.
But I like what you're saying too. That basically we could have. How does it work now with event time and everything like that? Does it show just UTC no matter who you are?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're saying that we basically could use that information to update the. Well, actually, do we? Okay. I'm looking at this site. Everything is a countdown. Do we have any like hard times?
If you go to events,
Okay.
and then it will show the Scrum listing
Right.
with UTC times. Those could be local.
Okay. Yeah.
I thought that's what you were doing, actually.
No, but we could, as a next feature, take
Yeah.
advantage of the logic that we're building. So, Raphael, if you wanted to make a new branch, I would just call it the same thing, but prepend JS dash calculate something something whatever you had that as.
Okay, let me do that then. Um, calculate times on. Let's see, wait.
Right, put JS in front of that though to make it easier to call. Yeah.
Okay. So I was thinking we have 2 options. We can add the same expectation for the cucumber, or we can just go ahead and write the spec inside here. But we won't have, in that case, we won't have a top level integration test to test that what the user will see is the correct output.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. How, if we want to have something in the cucumber, how do we, in the cucumber, like basically stub out different return times from this?
Yeah.
I'm gonna actually just Google that real quick.
Because we need to make the cucumber steps to be deterministic, we can just go ahead and use whatever scene the user that runs the feature file has.
Right. So I'm just Googling synchronized times in Ruby and JavaScript acceptance tests. Faking time. I mean, I'm comfortable in Jasmine stubbing out the return of datetime.now and returning a different time.
Sure, let's do that then.
But in terms of doing this in Cucumber, we might just have to only test it one way in the Cucumber. Whatever the... Oh, yeah. And it will be non-deterministic, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Depending on who's running the...
yeah, exactly. That's what I said. That will imply that it
something
will
at the
use
cucumber
the,
level. I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, that will imply that the user that runs the feature file will, that the feature file will be using, I mean, the headless web browser will be using the client's date. So that will change. So we have to stub out the client side date.
For cucumber, you're saying?
Yeah, if we are going to use Cucumber, we can just go and ahead and just use the spec from Jasmine and use that unit testing and test manually from the web browser. That's the other option.
I almost feel like we should just build the feature because there's like a bunch of blog posts that we could read for the next 30 minutes. And I'm sure there's actually a way to do this in Cucumber.
Okay.
I don't think it's actually that important to test this with Cucumber. I think we will test it with Cucumber just because that's how this project works overall. Everybody wants a Cucumber for everything.
Mhm.
But let's just build the thing with Jasmine's specs first.
Cool.
There's a gem called DeLorean that we were using to test time-based functionality, but it only fakes the Ruby time. It wouldn't
Right.
percolate down to the JavaScript.
Yeah, in fact, I think what we would need to do is something with Phantom.js, because that's the thing that would be running the browser, because this would be one of those things where you have to tag it as a JavaScript thing.
Yeah.
Phantom.js stub date. It's the only thing I can think of. Alright. Yeah. So the next thing to wonder about for me is how do we get the JavaScript to talk to the Rails backend? Basically, we're going to have a controller, I imagine.
Why do we need that?
Alright, maybe I'm just being dumb right now, but how are we going to... you know what? There is one flaw with this. Fuck. One thing about this is that we're not talking to the database. So we're not going to be looking at everybody's last signed in IP. Right.
Yeah.
Like with the back-end approach, we were actually going to look through all the user objects in the database, take out all their last signed in IPs, and do a calculation one time, and then in the future update it every time.
Yeah. In the future, we are going just to.
Every time somebody logs in.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Whereas in this case, you know, when you go to the user's index page, you would not have everybody else there with you at the same time, of course. So
No.
it would only be for you, and you wouldn't see everybody else's time.
That's it. That I was thinking of displaying event times in the browser. If you want to display the time zone of other users in the user show page, that's going to need to be stored.
Yep, it's going to need to be stored, but also it's going to need. I think it's actually we're going to have to go back to the branch that we're working on because I think it's going to need a back-end service.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I wasn't considering the fact that we are going to list all the time zone for all the users. with this, we are going to use just the one that is currently using the site, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe we can use this with just displaying when the user is in his own profile. We can
Mhm.
use the JavaScript part for it. I don't know if that's going to be a good idea because we're already going to have his time zone inside the database. So, but
Yeah.
anyways, I think that the other branch is a way to go.
Okay.
You could still use the JavaScript method to send an asynchronous request to the server with the user's time zone offset when you're gathering that information.
Yeah. Definitely.
You mean to save it into the database?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but you'll
that's
still
good.
need a controller.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're talking about the event index page. We might be able to use the JavaScript there
No, on the user show page. So
on the
when a
user show
user
page.
when
Yeah.
a user logs in, a JavaScript event is fired off that makes a JSON request to the server um,
And save
with
it.
with the
Yeah.
data. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what Pete says is that if the user get into the site, we are going to use the JavaScript part and then send an AJAX request to save that time zone for that user. And when the user goes to the user list, it will display all the saved time zones.
Okay. Well, you know what? That's not bad. We
Yeah,
could.
but the disadvantage of that, I think, is that if most of the users logging in to the site um, are the same, there will be some users that won't have the time zone to display.
Well, that's fine. If people don't ever show up again, we don't care about what their time zone is anyway.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay, so
Well,
this would be basically something that gets kicked off when they log in. How would that be? Like, what's the hook that would kick that off?
the signing.
Okay, but how does that actually work? Because we know we have a very complicated sign-in process already, which we've taken a couple steps at refactoring. But which would happen? Would the backend call to the front end to kick off that calculation and then return the UTC offset to the backend, or
Hmm.
and then would we need to, I guess, add a column to the users table that would
Yeah.
just save their UTC offset?
Yeah.
That's not a big deal.
You could put it on the. We don't have a sign in success page, do we? It just sends you straight to the index page. We do have a flash notification when you've signed in successfully.
mhm.
Um, I'm not sure if we could hook onto that with a JavaScript call.
Raphael, when you were refactoring the authentication controller, is the only way people sign in through the create method in the controller?
Yeah.
Okay, and then the other thing to ask is it good web practice? And the answer might be yes. I'm not necessarily trying to turn down the idea. Is it good web practice to have when people sign in one script, three scripts, 10 scripts just kicked off asynchronously? Is that like not a problem, or is that something people actually worry about? You've got too much crap happening at login. Or is it
Yeah,
just as long as you can keep it organized is good?
I would be concerned if there's too many processes happening on the client side in one page.
Yeah.
But unless we put it on the profile edit page and then just ask everybody to go and open up that edit page to set their time zone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think honestly, it's not gonna affect performance or anything like that. I think the biggest challenge for us will be managing the complexity of, okay, we already have a complicated sign-in process. Now we want to add one more thing to it.
Could be the straw that breaks the camel back.
Yeah, or it could be the straw that makes us finally push through and finish refactoring the dang method in the controller.
Yeah, I think that will be the next working session that we have. Go back to the authentication controller and keep working on that. But at this point, I think that what we should be thinking is which of the two solutions is there more straightforward to be understood by any new user of the code base. I don't know if maybe it's my lack of knowledge about JavaScript, but I think that the Ruby version is simpler than doing even that the line for calculating the offset is just one line, white line, but we will have to add the complexity of the Ajax call and where to put it, and also test that out.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, yes, I agree. The complexity being talking between two languages via Ajax and handling the callback, but the actual length of the calculation is shorter in JavaScript, and it doesn't depend on the third-party API
The
that we will be using.
geolocation. Yeah.
I think we need to decide. I mean, if for some reason we do this feature in JavaScript, and then we 1 month from now decide that, oh, actually we still want to do geolocation based off the user's IP for another reason, then it will have been a waste to do this in JavaScript. You know, if we ever plan to harness the last sign-in IP in other ways, then we should definitely do this way as well with that. But
we do already when we display the user's country. We're using IP-based geolocation, aren't we?
how are we doing that?
On
Can
the
we find a code for that?
user index page.
I'm going there now. So I'm going to look at the controller for users index. Okay, so is there...
It's just in the
email.
presenter, I think. No, wait.
Look at schema.rb for the user table. Where are you? Users, okay. So we have country, city, region, longitude, latitude. When are these pieces of information collected?
So we already have the latitude and longitude. We don't have to calculate it.
I don't know if those values are always calculated. We need to see when they're called. I don't know if they're like collected on new
Registration.
when the user is nude. Yeah. Look at the user object. Geocoded by last and I'm looking at the user model.
Yeah.
So when it says
maybe that's happening when a user is created, which is probably in the sign-in process.
yeah, that's the back-end way, and actually just build our functionality into here. If this is sort of like there's no clue right now when geocoded by is actually being called, but if it's being called on creation, then you can do it by current sign-in IP, obviously not last sign-in IP, but we should sort of
Check out the user model. Maybe there is before create hook. I don't see it now, but I can see it. I can see anything like that. And also, I went to the authentications controller, the method name create new user with authentication doesn't show anything related to geolocation.
Mm.
So where do we have tests for this then? Because that would be my next place to look to
In fact,
understand.
the only place where um, the only
Oh, you
place.
acted. Act do the same thing, but in the spec directory.
Okay.
What the fuck? Is there anything even in that A block? Okay, I'm gonna go take a look at that line 191 of
In the user spec.
yep. Models, users. Pretty far down here. Okay, so it does it on save, it looks like.
Okay.
It,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
The text for that it block is user.save and then for expectations for the latitude, longitude, city, and country should not equal nil.
Mm-hmm.
And then it should set user location. Again, user.save kicks this off, and then it goes to the latitude, longitude, city, country. And then if the IP changes, it also. Yep.
yeah, in that case, if we keep working with the Ruby service, maybe we don't
Yeah, I
have to
think so.
calculate the latitude and longitude for the way we were doing it with the coordinates value object.
Yep.
Okay. So what are we going to do then?
Um. Yeah, I think we should just write a migration to add UTC offset. Or
Along with city, region, and country.
yeah. Do you think we need anything more than UTC offset? Should we keep the name of the time zone too, or is that just too much?
But are we going to keep following the Ruby version, or are we going to do it with the JavaScript?
I think the Ruby version.
The Ruby version.
So yeah, but in that case, just let go, I mean, instead of going to create a migration now, let's try to let the specs that we already have drive us to to the point where we need the migration
Oh, I totally
first.
agree.
Anyways, keep you have my teammate session, John. If you want to create a new one, I have to answer to another meeting, and then I will go. I will come back and keep
Okay,
working it. Okay.
sounds
Okay.
good.
Thanks, Pete, for your input.
Sorry about driving you off track there.
No, that's
No,
good.
it's okay. It's okay. In fact, I learned a new thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye.
See ya.
Right.
Okay, so yeah, I basically want to be. I want to add more to this hook. So I guess this geocoded by method. I'd like to look at the source code for that. I'm just gonna see if I can find it on GitHub, because this is from the geocoder service or the gem that we use.
Right, it's a gem.
So libgeocoder models active record. If you want, I'll post this into the. I'm always worried when I. Let me look at this on master. Yeah, okay. Alright, I will post this into the chat. Where's the block executed?
Oh, my phone's ringing. I need to go get that. Hello, Mr. John.
Looks like I'm the last one here. Do we have a scrum starting? Yeah, in 5 minutes. Just looking through the geocoded jam. Let me share my screen.